Assalamu alaikum viewers. There are 6 main tenses in English. They are present, past, future, present perfect, past perfect, and future perfect. There are 6 main tenses in English. And there is a chart on your screen that shows the basic tenses of the verb jump. Present tense, I jump. Past tense, I jumped. Future, I will jump. Present perfect, I have jumped. Past perfect, I had jumped. And future perfect, I will have jumped. These are the 6 basic main tenses of English. Now, we shall look at these tenses in greater detail. Let's take the first one, the present tense. Now, the present tense is used to describe an action that is happening in the present, or it is used to describe a condition that exists at the present time regardless of the other verbs in the sentence. For example, Susan works in children's toys on the 3rd floor. This is something that she does every day. It's almost an habitual action. Then you've got the neighbor's dog smells our plants. That is, he's doing it now. He smells it. It's a present action. And then the second one is that the present tense is used to express a universal truth, a continuing truth, or a relatively permanent truth, regardless of when the truth was stated. Example, despite what he said, his old car averages only 10 miles a liter. Averages. Another sentence, the main point of the principal's address last night indicated moral standards are still important. Now, although the there is the word last night, indicated, it is something that took place in the past, this address. But he's talking about something which is a relatively permanent truth. Right? So these were the 2 main uses of the present tense. Now we look at the third one, the historical present. This is the third use of the present tense. It's called the historical present. The present tense is used to make more vivid the description of some past action through a statement or a summarization of the facts from a book or a report. You usually state things that are stated in a report or in a book or in a play, and you report it as if it is in the present action, in the present time. For example, in his report, Mr. Farooq states that the president will call candidates for interview in a year's time. Right? Example, another example. Revenge, says the Lord, is mine. This is a quotation from the Bible. Revenge, says the Lord. Now it's again stated in the present tense. This historical present is used when we write about events or happenings in a work of literature. The rationale for using the present tense is that the happenings of literature are unchangeable and therefore are permanently true. Now that was the present tense. We look at the past tense now. And the past tense is used to describe an action or state of being that occurred sometime in the past. For example, you have the sentence, at yesterday's party, the host made a rude remark. We are talking about something that took place in the past. Another example, the goods were delivered late last night. The past tense is very easy to identify. The third tense is the future tense, and there are different uses of the future tense. The first one is to indicate an action which is to take place in the future or in a state or condition that will exist sometime in the future. For instance, in the sentence, according to the college schedule, the examinations will be held in the basement at 9 a.m. You are talking about something that is going to be held sometime in the future. Another example, if you are to succeed, you will need to set realistic goals. You will need. Again, something referring to an action that will take place in the future. Now, the second use of the future tense is that you can form the future tense by placing will or shall before the verb. Now, in the past, if you look up old grammars, the use of will and shall was prescribed. Grammarians said that you can use will in such a situation and shall in another situation. But in today's language usage, will is typically used to express ordinary future tense, right? Will is used to express future tense, and shall is used to express a demand or is used with laws, policies, or contracts. You get the difference. A lot of people think they still follow what old grammarians said. But nowadays, in today's language usage, will is typically used to express ordinary future tense. We will go out tonight. We will be doing this, etc., etc. And shall is used to express a demand, or it is used with laws, policies, or contracts. For example, you shall have this term paper submitted on time. This is almost a demand. Invigilators shall ensure that the examination rules are fully implemented. Another example, if you meet the deadline, you will reap the benefits. Right? Now, we shall turn to the perfect tenses. Now, there are three perfect tenses. The first one, the perfect tenses are formed by using the helping verb have, has, or had, and you add them to the past participles of the verb. And you know, the past participle of a regular verb is simply the form that ends in ed. Let us look at the present perfect tense. That's the first of the three perfect tenses. This is the first one, the present perfect tense. This is used to describe an action that started in the past and either has been finished or is continuing at the present time. The present perfect tense is formed when we add has or have plus the past participle. Example, Marina has worked at a number of jobs over the year. Has worked. This is the present perfect tense. It is something that started in the past and is continuing at the present time. Another example, after great efforts by the police, the building has been evacuated. Something that took place in the past and has finished recently. The second perfect tense is the past perfect tense. It describes an action that was completed in the past before another past action. The past perfect tense is formed when we add had plus the past participle. Example, Marina had worked in a number of TV programs before she joined the company. Now, over there, had worked describes an action that was completed in the past before another past action, right? Before she joined the company. She had worked. Another example, before I reached my office, my friend Leila had returned my call. Had returned. Right? And the sixth tense, or the third perfect tense, is the future perfect tense. It describes an action that will be completed before some time in the future. And this perfect tense, the future perfect tense, is formed when we add shall have or will have to the past participle. For example, in the sentence, by the end of the year, the contractors will have completed the new block. You are describing an action that will be completed before some time in the future. Mr. Saeed will have been employed by the printing firm for 25 years in December. Because December is still to come, right? And we are talking about an action that will be completed before some time in the future. Our secretary shall have entered all data of your report by Saturday. Shall have entered. Now these were the perfect tenses. Now there are three more, the three progressive tenses. First we had the perfect tenses. Now we are going to look at the progressive tenses. Now as their name suggests, these tenses express actions which are still in progress at a particular time. And they are made by adding a form of the helping verb. The helping verb be to the ing form of the verb. Now all this sounds very technical. You don't have to bother about it. The more you read, you will pick up these tenses. The first progressive tense is the present progressive tense. It expresses an action taking place at this moment or that will occur sometime in the future. For example, Marina is working at the office today. Is working, ing, and is, which means that the action is taking place right now. I am going to the bookstore. The second one is the past progressive tense, and that expresses an action that was in progress at a certain time in the past. Again, we've got Marina today, and we are using Marina in all the examples. Marina was working yesterday. I was practicing my speech last night. And the third progressive tense is the future progressive tense, and it expresses an action that will be in progress at a certain time in the future. Example again, Marina will be working tomorrow. The visitors will be pacing in the reception hall. All expressing an action that will be in progress at a certain time in the future. Now, when you write, you must avoid unnecessary shifts in tense. For example, if you're writing something with the action in the past tense, don't suddenly shift to the present for no reason. Look at the example that you have on your screen. In my dream, a snake slithered along the side of my bed and slips quickly onto my pillow. Now, if you look at that sentence, there are two verbs. The first verb, slithered, is in the past tense, and the second one, slips, is in the present tense. Now, there is no need for the writer to slip from one tense to the other. There is no need for the sudden shift from the past tense, slithered, to the present tense, slips. It is not only in writing, but in conversation also, that people shift from one verb tense to another. Right? Now, in speaking, it doesn't pose a problem. But in writing, it just shows that you do not have a command over the language. Now, we shall have a quick practice. There are a number of sentences before you on your screen. You spot the wrong tense word. Number 1. When my sister saw flames and smoke coming from her room, she reacted quickly. She picks up her handbag and some pictures of her family. Then she rushed out into the open. Now, in that passage, which wrong tense word has been used? You have the verb saw, and you've got reacted, and then you've got the verb rushed. It's the verb picks that is wrongly used. It should have been she picked up. The sudden shift from past to present, that is wrong. Example number 2. Pink flowers blossom on this peach tree every spring. Then tiny green buds appeared. Finally, the peaches grow into sweet red fruit. Now, which tense word is wrong? You've got the word blossom, and then you've got the word appeared. And it is the word appeared that is wrong. It should have been, then tiny green buds appear. Now, this is a longer passage, some more practice for you to spot the tense shifts. In this passage, you will notice that the writer shifts from one tense to another. In his oversized T-shirt, the little boy looked even smaller than he was. His skinny arms stretch out of the flopping sleeves that reach down to his wrists. He needed a haircut. He has to push his hair out of his eyes to see. His eyes fail to meet those of the people passing by as he asked them, "Can you give me 5 rupees?" Now, you will notice that the writer continuously shifts from the past tense to the present. Now, which verbs are in the past tense? The verbs looked, was, needed, asked. They are all in the past tense. And you notice that the writer switches from the past to the present. The verb stretch, the verb reach, the verb has to push, and again the verb fail. the writer is continuously shifting, and the tense shifts, they confuse the reader, who won't know when the event happened. So, in the passage that you've just seen, the verbs should be in the past tense. So when you write, shift tenses only when for some reason the time of the action actually changes. It is only when the action that you are describing, the time of the action actually changes. Right? Now, another practice for you. You spot the verb in each sentence that is not in the same tense as the others. Now, all these practice sessions should help you to pick out the wrong tenses. Number 1, Hafiz rang the doorbell and waited for several minutes. Finally, when no one answers, he turned away disappointed. Which is the wrong tense? It is the verb answers. It should have been answered. Hafiz rang the doorbell and waited for several minutes. Finally, when no one answered, he turned away disappointed. Number 2, as the campers drove away, they looked back and saw their dog running after them. Now notice, the first verb is drove, and that is in the past tense. And suddenly, the next verb, look, it's in the present tense. And the third verb is saw, which is again in the past tense. So there is this unnecessary shift from one tense to the other. It should have been, as the campers drove away, they looked back, ed, looked back and saw their dog running after them. Sentence number 3. He came home early because he wasn't feeling well. Then he discovers his wife had the door key. He came is in the past. Discovers, the verb discovers, is in the present. It should have been discovered. He came home early because he wasn't feeling well. Then he discovered his wife had the door key. So he was locked out. Number 4, our children love going to the school library because they can take out any book they wanted, even if they can't read it yet. Very easy to spot, and it is the verb wanted. It should have been want. Right. Now, before we move on to the next part of the lesson, let us just check your knowledge of verb tenses. A short, quick review of what we've done so far. Look at the first one. There are 6 basic tenses in English, true or false. Number 2, they are present, past, dash. You have to fill in the blank over there. Fill in the blank with the correct word. You just say it aloud. Number 2, they are the tenses. We are talking about the tenses. Number 2, they are present, past, dash, present perfect, dash, future perfect. So it has to be, they are present, past, future. Present perfect, past perfect. In the blanks that you have over there, the first blank will be filled in with the word future and the second one with past perfect. Number 3, the past tense is formed with regular verbs by adding to the basic form of the verb. What has to be added to make the past tense? Simple, ed or d. Number 4, which tense is formed by adding the word will before the basic form of the verb? And it is the future. You have to fill in the blank with the word future. Number 5, Which tense? The tenses are formed by adding a form of the helping verb have, has, had to the past participle of the verb, and it is the perfect tense. Number 6, what words will you fill in there? The dash dash tense describes an action that was completed in the past before another past action, and that would be the past perfect tense. And the last one, the present progressive tense is formed by adding the correct form of the helping verb be to the S form of the verb, or the ing form of the verb, or the ed form of the verb. Which one is it? And we are talking about the present progressive tense, so it has to be the ing form. Now that was a review of the lesson so far. Now, tense, as you have learned, is the verb property that describes when in time an action took place.